Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. We're coming at you live from the Happy Strong Family Studios. This is Brother Mushtaq, and today this is a must-watch episode. Don't turn the YouTube channel, don't turn the dial, as they say. Stay here and be present because today we are focusing on the topic of burnout. Now, I'm joined by Sister Faizah Latif. Sister, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we were discussing off air before going live that this is just a very conversational format.
Yeah.
So don't be nervous.
Yeah.
No need. We already got you smiling and laughing, so that's good. Tell us about the topic of burnout. It's a very taboo subject.
Yeah.
And as I was joking, not joking, off air, that it's almost passed down like generational trauma in that our parents have had that expectation that they just work, work, work. Perhaps they were most likely new immigrants to the country.
Mhm.
My parents came in the 60s. And then after that, the immigrational floodgates opened, 70s, 80s, 90s, all throughout,
Yeah.
right? So you've had this successive wave of immigrants to the country, whether from Algeria or, you were discussing you have clients in the province of Quebec,
Yeah.
or South Asian community, wherever you may have come from. But if you are an immigrant, and yes, if you're not, at the end of the day, just it being 2025, you're all about work, 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 work.
Absolutely.
So whether it's for your parents' generation or whether it's for yourself as a working adult, working teen, studying, working, all of that, help us deconstruct this.
Yeah.
Let's unbox this. So what does it mean to even understand, recognize the signs of burnout? How can you walk away, step away from feeling guilt of actually taking time for yourself? This is a large topic, right?
Mhm.
We're literally dealing in uncharted waters here. I don't think we've touched upon the subject of burnout yet. So please guide us through this, Sister
Yeah.
Faizah.
Thank you so much, Brother Mushtaq. So, this is a huge topic, and
Mhm.
I'm very passionate about talking about taboo topics with my clients. I'm very big on raising awareness on things that we don't want to necessarily engage with because it's so important to set healthy boundaries, to assess and realize how busy we are in our day to day, and how to kind of take a step back. And I was talking also off the air with Brother Kashif that, like, especially as women, we are constantly put into this sort of, we have this expectation that we constantly have to have a role as either a mother or a wife, or we constantly have to be doing something or the other. I had a client the other day, and she was saying to me that she feels that guilt because, like when she grew up, her mom was constantly on the go, and so if she ever took a break, her mom would be like, "What are you doing? Like, what are you doing sitting down? Like, there's this to do." And I think it's something to unlearn, first of all. So to kind of take that concept of resting equates to laziness, we have to reconstruct that and think of it as we need to rest because we need to be more productive. And in order to be more productive, we need to take a step back and breathe, or go and do salah, or go and recharge in nature, whatever it is that fuels your cup. Like, you want to be able to re-energize yourself. And so that's something we miss. We're constantly in this hustle culture where we have to keep going, and the more productive we are, the more quote unquote successful we are.
Right.
But it's more so, how do we take those steps to slow down and to recognize that, okay, I don't have the capacity right now, so I need to slowly set a healthy boundary. And that's a really hard thing to do. And like you said, South Asian culture, no matter where you come from, but as an immigrant, like you mentioned, it's really hard to set a boundary. But it's really important to say to yourself that I need to pull back a little.
So then how does one recognize that they're going through burnout?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, look, and I really try to stay away from being stereotypical.
Yeah.
Right? But at the end of the day, whether you're a career woman, career man, career wife, or career husband, or a stay-at-home mom, or a stay-at-home dad,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or a teenager going through university or high school. Look, at the end of the day, our days and lives are just so busy.
Yeah.
Just so busy. You get up, and as a Muslim, you're getting up for Fajr, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you go back to sleep, okay, that's up to them, right?
Yeah.
But you get up, let's just say Fajr time, maybe you clock in another hour of sleep, then you're up for your day. Maybe you're getting ready for work, uni, whatever the case is. You come home late, right?
Yeah.
And then that kind of, hey, I just need downtime, right? Maybe you're watching the news, maybe you're reading something, or you're constantly on your phone, whatever the case is. And then you do your salah, have dinner, go to sleep, rinse and repeat. The cycle repeats all over again, right? It's just that now you're locked into that routine. Now, so how can, and again, I'm just trying to at least paint a very realistic picture of what the majority of us go through. Right? It's not like we're working remote on the island of Bali. Oh, we get up, we watch a beautiful sunrise. Oh, look at me. I'm, communing. I'm going through meditation. I'm one with nature. And I just work on my MacBook for 3 hours and I'm done. That's stuff for the movies and for social media, quite frankly. So what are some of the signs that someone can say, you know what? Yeah, I'm actually going through burnout. Dr. Faizah, Sister Faizah said, "Oh,
I'm not a doctor,
but sorry,
social worker.
So
No, that's
social
okay.
worker, but the bio, which I didn't read, I'll read now. It's a good segue. So Faizah Latif, founder and clinical director of Duha Therapy, a practice focused on Muslim mental health and identity. Right? You are a registered social worker, licensed across several Canadian provinces. Name them again. You just got registered in Alberta, Ontario,
Quebec, and Nova Scotia.
Scotia. All right. So you do provide therapy at Hello Lena, and you also serve on the board of Muslims Children Aid and Support Services. Okay. So now let's get back to just understanding. How does one understand the signs? Are there signs? Or does someone just basically need to say, I'm tired. I need to do something for myself. Walk us through that, please.
Totally. No, that's a very, very good question. And honestly, I think that it's very situational, but I would say that from the picture that you painted, that you're right, it's across the board, no matter what your day-to-day looks like. We're all constantly busy, whatever demographic you are, or whatever life situations you have. I would say that really just something we're not used to doing, but listening to the inside voice is really important. So if that inside voice is constantly telling you, you need to get this done, you need to get that done, and also if there's a constant pressure from other individuals, whether that's your parent or your spouse or a teacher or your manager, hey, did you this kind of pressure where you feel like, I'm going to talk about a clinical concept here, survival mode. You're constantly we kind of call it the fight or flight, you're you're kind of just keeping afloat, and you're almost on the verge of drowning. You're just kind of in a space where you're struggling to keep up, you're trying to breathe, but essentially you're just finding your way, and you're trying to keep up with all your responsibilities. So I would say, if you're looking at your day-to-day and you don't even have time for downtime, because I know in there you mentioned downtime, some people don't even have that. Their downtime is I'm going to sit down and I have to catch up on work. That's my downtime. So what does downtime look to you? Is it actually engaging in proper rest? I'm going to take some deep breaths. I'm going to, unwind. But to answer your question, it's a lot of listening to your inner dialogue. Is it critical, or is it saying, you know what, I have XYZ to do, or this project is due on Friday. Do I need to ask my manager for more time? Or, what do I need to get done right now? How can I prioritize so that I'm not killing myself? So
I think, that's a tough question to tackle for anybody. Right? You can go through various professional development, either through work or at your own pace. There's a number of platforms that allow you to do your own kind of self-taught, kind of self-managed professional learning, or you can just stumble upon a website and be like, hey, this is how I prioritize, right?
Right.
This is self-help. Self-help is a big thing, right? And
Yeah.
as I've always said, almost on every podcast, that no one should suffer in silence. There are many resources.
Yeah.
But Sister Faizah, help us understand, how can we prioritize, right? I'm talking about from your own clinical experience. I'm not talking about from some self-help book, but tell us from your own experience, something your own patients have gone through, something that you can at least mention to us. Obviously keeping the bounds of, patient clinical confidentiality, all that good stuff, but from your own real world experience. How can we prioritize? Look, everything is a priority nowadays, right? The kids, the work, the husband, the wife, the family, the mother-in-law, father-in-law, paying the bills. Like, it's a lot. It's a lot. So how can we prioritize? Is there like a system, a matrix, a framework? You tell us.
Not really. I mean, that's the honest truth. There's no real like cookie cutter answer to that. It's really like what it looks like to you. And what I mean by that is that, first of all, like my own personal experience as a clinician, you can imagine I talk to many clients a day and I need some time to rest. And so the way that I personally see it is, after I see my clients, I need to do something I enjoy. So I've had to really take some years to understand, what is it that I enjoy? What are my hobbies? What does rest even mean? And I've come to terms with, I recently taught myself how to swim. So that's something that I'm really proud of, alhamdulillah. And like, that's something that I now use to decompress. Like, it helps with my anxiety. It's fun. At one point I was trying to be Michael Phelps and try to do too much, but I slowed it down. I realized, you know what? No, like, this is my time to unwind. And that's actually a really good segue into what we're talking about. Like, something that was supposed to be rest for me, I was trying to make it a bit more competitive. And I'm like, wait a minute. I assessed and I'm like, okay, no, like, I actually had a bit of an injury too. I had to go for physio. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is how I engage in rest. So I don't need to like necessarily go over the top here. I can just take it slow. So that was a good lesson for me, in the sense that my physiotherapist is like, we're gonna take it easy now, right? We're not going to. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. So that's a very good example of something I enjoy. And I use that example in my sessions because I like to ask my clients, it's different for everybody. So I'm like, what do you like to enjoy? And sometimes they're like, well, I don't know what I like. And so that's where we explore different things. Like, okay, is there anything in the community? Is there anything you want to take up? Right now, one of my things that I want to take up is photography, for example.
Okay.
Right. So that's just an example of something that interests me. But going back to your childhood, what did you like doing as a kid? You know, just finding some time to do something for yourself. And so, yes, you have your spouse, you have your kids, you have in-laws, you name it. But I would say that the key to success is working on your people pleasing tendencies. That's really hard to do in our communities, but it's really important to recognize that, okay, you know what? Like, I need an hour to myself. I need to dip. I understand that's not easy for everybody, especially if you have kids or a spouse. But it's important to engage in your own time and to listen to your body. Like, it's an amana from Allah. Like, we're all created with a purpose. So turning back to what's important for us, without kids, without our husband, without all these voices, but just tuning inwards.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. So from what you're saying, it's all about listening to that inner voice.
Yeah.
You've mentioned that now on several occasions.
Yeah.
Help us kind of, for those just not used to this concept, right? Because again, like I said from the top, it's just, it's 2025. We're already midway. Come January, it'll be 2026. Like, time is just going by way too fast.
Yeah.
For one, and it's just go. We don't have a sense of stopping anymore, right? And accelerated by so many different things. You got your mobile devices. You got working from home now, which is even more work because the expectation is, or the hybrid, whatever. There's just so many things going on right now, right? How can we listen to that inner voice? What are some of the exercises? What are some of the steps? What do we need? How can we be mindful of that or cognizant of that?
Yeah. So I think the first step is to really, and this is all based off of CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy,
Okay.
but it's essentially the first important step is to catch your thoughts. And so whenever you're being self-critical, and this is very, like you said, it's very something we're not used to doing. Like
Yeah.
inner voice, like what do you mean? Like I don't talk to my like, but there's that little guy or little girl in your head that's constantly telling you, okay, Faizah, after this, you're gonna go home. You're gonna drive all the way back to Milton.
Mhm.
Okay, that's a good hour. There might be traffic. Then you're gonna go and you're probably gonna have to like do your chores, clean the house today, play with your cat, like all these things. Relax, unwind before another busy week. Like there's constantly a voice in your head that's telling you, I gotta do X, Y, Z. But if you're able to catch those unhealthy thoughts, which are like, what are you doing? You're being lazy. So like today's Sunday, right? Sunday can be very busy for some folks. Sunday can be a day to unwind, like a lazy Sunday.
Mm.
So if you're catching yourself like, oh, what are you doing? Like you're being lazy. Oh, like, you gotta go and cook. You gotta go do the gardening. You have to help your kid with this. Yes, I'm not saying like disregard all of your neglect all of your responsibilities, but what I am saying is to also recognize that, okay, you know what, like, why am I framing it as being lazy rather than saying my body's trying to tell me something, my body's telling me that I need a bit of a break. And our bodies are smart, and that's what we don't realize is so passionate about this, but especially in our communities, we focus a lot on physical health. So, you're going to go to a doctor, you're not feeling well. We don't talk about what's going on internally. What's going on when you're in survival mode is that you're constantly on edge. That makes you exhausted. That's,
Good
when
point.
you're
Good point.
constantly having
Yeah.
to think about, I got to do XYZ, I got to, not even XYZ, there's like 10 things on your list, and you have a mental checklist. And then you're recognizing that, oh my God, how am I going to get all this done? What's wrong with me? Why did I procrastinate? All these negative thoughts, and you're spiraling. That's going to make you exhausted too.
Right.
So it's, I would say the first step is to catch your thoughts. And then the second step is, once you're able to get in the habit of catching those unhealthy thoughts, then you reframe them gently.
Okay.
Okay, so like, am I actually being lazy, or is my body telling me that it's a Sunday and I had a really busy week and I'm going to have another busy week? Maybe I can just take 30 minutes and sit down and read a book, right? It looks
Okay.
different for everybody.
Right. All right. Let's use this time now.
Yeah.
Producer Kashif, the voice behind the camera. Questions from the board, and also your own questions. You always have a question of your own to start off with.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. Before we get there, let me just share some stuff on the screen here that we had to display. So just want to ask Sister Faizah if she can just tell us some, about her practice, what she offers, how people can contact her, and I'll share the website, I'll share the Instagram handle here also. So before we get there, though, actually, the first thing that I'm noticing on Instagram is Canada's top mental health advocate award. So you're a finalist for this, mashallah.
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Tell us a little bit more about that. When's that happening? Or
yeah, it's happening next Saturday, inshallah. So yeah, I was shortlisted for the peer support excellence category. So alhamdulillah, I've gone through my own personal challenges, and with that, I've done my own growth. And this is why I tell many clients when they're having consultations with me that this isn't a job for me. It's literally my passion. Like, I know that I was born to do this. So I really live by even these discussions that we're having today. Like, it's stuff that I've had to work on myself, and now I'm trying my best to inspire the community. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Jazakallah khair. And then we have your website here also, and
Yeah.
maybe if you want to just talk about some of the services you offer and
Sure.
how people can contact you. And one thing I always like to clarify is that for a lot of us, and you've mentioned you're in multiple provinces, I encourage everyone to check with their insurance companies at work, because a lot of times this is covered and people don't even know about that.
Yeah.
So absolutely check that. Let's put that money back into the Muslim community instead of the profits of the insurance companies.
Absolutely. Thank you for
please check
bringing the
that.
insurance part up. A lot of people don't know that, but yeah, I am licensed in 4 different provinces now. So I'm licensed in Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, Alberta. I have a privilege of working with a wide variety of different clientele, the Muslim community. Yeah, so a little bit about Duha therapy. I mean, when I was going through my own struggles personally, I really found a lot of solace in Surat al-Duha in the Quran. There's a lot of meaning behind it in terms of how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like he was going through tough times and how he felt like he wasn't getting proper sort of confirmation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then Allah sent down the verse of Surat al-Duha. So mental health is like, we see these struggles even with our prophet. So that was one of my motivations for the concept behind Duha therapy. But yeah, the website's duhatherapy.ca. You can check me out on Instagram, Duha therapy. But yeah, in terms of services, I offer virtual services to adults 18 plus. Recently started couples therapy. Do walk and talk therapy, obviously over the phone. So you're just going to like a local park or something, and we're just having a talk. But yeah, I keep my sessions fun and engaging, and it's just like having a conversation, just like me and Brother Mushtaq are having here.
And again,
Yeah.
Sister Faizah, just to expand upon the notion that your benefits, your health coverage
Yes.
benefits allow for this service. And to Kasha's point, which he always mentions every time we're covering this subject, rather than it just lay with the insurance provider unused, which is money back in their pocket, if you have the coverage, then use it. So what are the categories that they would submit under? Is it psychotherapy? Is it CBT? Like, just so that somebody can be cognizant of that as they're filling out their form, whatever, the electronic claim form or on the app, the Sun Life, Manulife, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, what boxes do they tick to say, you know what, I know Sister Faizah, Duha therapy, this is what I'm gonna do. But what are the categories or tick boxes I just need to check
That's
off?
a very important point. Thank you for highlighting that. So I'm a registered social worker. So it's important to, when you're looking at coverage, to look under registered social worker, because it's very easy to be confused with different terms. I'm going to go through them now because I think it's important.
Please.
So, there's a psychotherapist as well, which I am a psychotherapist, but then there's also the distinction with the actual title, like registered psychotherapist, which is they've done a different degree. So I did my master's in social work. There are people who have done their degree in masters of counseling. Okay, then a psychologist is at the doctorate level, so they've done a PhD, and a psychiatrist. All the terms sound so similar, so I can see why it's confusing. But a psychiatrist administers medication. So for me, as a registered social worker, I have the capacity to work in different fields. So I'm able to work in a hospital setting. I'm able to work in a school setting. I'm able to work as a psychotherapist. So I'm able to provide talk therapy. So in these sessions, we're doing talk therapy. We're just having a conversation, just like we're having now. I help you to provide validation, deconstruct a lot of these thought patterns, use different modalities. But honestly, I just want my clients to feel safe. Safety is the most important thing in my sessions, because they're being very vulnerable with what they share, and then we look at solutions if that's what they're looking for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So RSW, registered social
Yes,
worker.
that's right.
All right, awesome. I think
Yeah.
we've covered
Yeah.
that pretty good. So Producer Kasha, if questions from the board, or again, like I said, your own question, please.
Yes, Jazakallah khair. So we have some coming in live, so we'll take those first. And we have some coming through Instagram. So we were talking about laziness and procrastination, I believe. So the question they're asking as a follow-up, how do you tell the difference between being lazy and procrastinating versus resting? Like, is there a difference? Like, because I would think rest is a good thing, but being lazy, overly lazy, probably isn't. Or so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say that there has to be a balance. And actually, I love that this is coming up, because balance is also very important in Islam. So I would say that it has to be a good combination of taking accountability, and then also recognizing, and then the self-compassion. So I'd say it's a good balance between those two. And what I mean by that is, okay, like, am I actually getting my fulfilling my duties, like my responsibilities, like again, going back to prioritizing, like, am I getting the bare bones? Like, is that covered? So that's kind of like the accountability piece. It could go into so many categories, even exercising. Okay, did I go for a walk? Did I, just the basics. But then also checking yourself in the sense that, okay, am I being too hard on myself? Like, that's where it leads to burnout, where it's constant accountability. And so that's where I'm saying the self-compassion has to come in to a certain extent, because you don't want to be so self-compassionate that you're like, it's okay, I'm good, or I'm gonna take the week off. Like, there's a balance in everything, right?
Right.
There's moderation in everything. So that's where you have to kind of draw the line. I'd
Okay.
say.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Prasakash, another question, please.
Jazaka. So yeah, just a question I want to ask is, so the rest from sort of obviously we know what's going on in the world in Palestine. You came on initially after October 7th to
Yes.
help the community heal with some of the feelings that were happening. We're seeing so much on social media, on the news, and sometimes this is my own personal experience. I feel like I need to take a rest from that because it's impacting me.
Yeah.
But then I feel guilty about, like, why do I get to rest from watching it when people are going through it, and
Good
Yeah.
question.
and me not watching it, or me not being up to date on exactly what's happening minute by minute?
Right.
Does that mean that the bad guys have won because they've sort of gotten me to just forget about it?
Yeah.
So, like, how do I
Good
deal with
question. Good
that
question.
That's
balance?
such a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you. And that was actually the initial segment I came on to do. I was supposed to talk about a completely different topic, but then, subhanAllah, everything happened in Palestine. I think it was like the week after everything happened. And I was like, hey, Brother Kashif, can I actually come on here and talk about like this whole concept? I was like pretty much a brand new social worker. I was just getting into the field, subhanAllah. And like, it was a time where everybody was just kind of figuring out, what do we do?
Right.
Like, do we constantly post on social media, raise awareness? Is it okay for me to take a step back from social media,
Mhm.
boycotting, all of that, right? So I love this question. Thank you. So it reminds me of a concept I try to talk to my clients about, which is the concept of duality. And what
Okay.
I mean by that is, when you do feel guilty, you can recognize that you do feel for your brothers and sisters across the globe, like what they're going through. There's so much havoc, and it's constant. Like, they don't get a break. They don't have the capacity to even engage in like taking a break from what they're going through. And at the same time, you can recognize that you're a human being. You have your own capacity. You have your limits. You have your own responsibilities. As we just mentioned, our lives are so busy.
Right.
So I think when you come at it from a place of duality, you're inviting self-compassion. You're like, okay, I do recognize that, like, I do feel for my brothers and sisters, and like I'm going to make dua for them. And at the same time, right now, it's a bit too much for me, so I'm going to take a break. And so that's how I like to frame it for my clients.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. Prasakash, more questions, please.
Yes, Jazakallah khair. So we had a question that had come up from Instagram. How do you, and they put rest in quotation marks, from the responsibility of parenthood and the stress? I think I cut off, but the full question was saying, and the like the stress and worries of parenthood, essentially. Like, how can you take a rest from something that's like constantly on your mind, and you have this
Yeah.
Absolutely.
responsibility to
Question.
fulfill it?
That's a good question. I'm not a parent myself, but I'm going to try my best to answer this question, inshallah. I would say that, and this goes back to what you were saying in the beginning, that like, I think even if you are a parent, you're not a parent, like there's so many stressors that go on. But within parenthood, I can definitely empathize with the fact that it's a constant go, go, go. And you're like, okay, well, how do I, like, what do you mean? Rest is non-existent. My kid's screaming for, watching a show, and this kid is, telling me to do something else. So I would say that it's the little pockets of time that you have in the day. So I have worked with parents in my clinic, and something I would tell them is like, it's the little things that you do in your day. So even like something like making tea for yourself and sipping on it mindfully for like 5 minutes, and just like, decluttering your mind. Or, this sounds silly, but it's like mindfully washing the dishes. So like, paying attention to like the soap and like, the scent and like it going onto the plate. Like this is a way for us to not be thinking about the next thing, but being in the present moment and to be like, okay, I noticed the soap's going on the dish. And like same thing with the tea. Okay, I'm sipping on the tea. This is like I'm noticing the flavor of the tea. I'm looking outside. I'm just, engaging, like listening to the birds. 5 minutes, right? Like just whatever pocket of time you can get. So we're not talking about like grand gestures here. I know I talked about swimming earlier, and that's not necessarily, people don't have that luxury or that time, but it's just the little things that you do.
Okay,
Yeah.
great concept. Pockets of time, great
Yeah.
concept. Producer Kashif, more questions, please.
Yes, Jazakallah khair. So there was a question here. How do I break habit of aimlessly scrolling on phone, especially in bed when I should be sleeping?
Oh, good question, and
Very good question.
A very pertinent question, given
Absolutely.
how much time we spend on our phone. Please.
Yeah, definitely. I get this all the time from clients as well, right? We kind of deconstruct, okay, like, why are you tired? Okay, like I'm in bed, I'm scrolling, and I would say maybe like asking some important questions like what am I doing on my phone? Am I scrolling aimlessly, which is mostly the case, and I'm guilty of it too, guys. Like it's social media is very damaging, right? But just noticing, okay, like what am I trying to, like, what is the purpose of this, right? Like what am I trying to, am I just looking for, what's happening going on around me? Maybe set a time limit for yourself. Maybe, like, again, it goes back into the accountability piece. Like, okay, I have big deadlines tomorrow, or I have a lazy day, so I can, take it a bit slower. But again, just being mindful of how much time am I engaging. I know Brother Kashif and I off the air were talking about like just noticing how much time you are spending on your phone, and like your phone can tell you that now. So if you're one of those people that likes accountability in that way and seeing, oh shoot, like I've been on this for hours, helps some people, doesn't help others. But I would say start from there and just ask yourself, like, what am I seeking? Is it like, am I bored? Am I is there something that I can look at for maybe like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I can say, okay, like I need to put this away. I need to keep my phone away from my night table so
Right.
that I'm not constantly reaching for it. I do that now, actually. So I charge my phone like away from my bed. So if I have to get up and get it, good strategy for Fudger too, actually, because you get up and then you have to turn off the alarm. So
Right. Okay. Yes.
yeah.
Good strategy. Like it. All right. Producer Kashif, more questions,
Yeah,
please.
I think one of the best tips I got was don't use your phone as an alarm clock. Like I think that's what, because it sort of gives you the, justification of having your phone by your bed, because you do need it. So I got one of those cheap alarm clocks, and it seems to work well.
Oh,
And
nice. Okay.
yeah,
Amazing.
so alhamdulillah. So yeah, there was another question that came up
Uh-huh.
here. It was, this came from Instagram also. Is rest different for men and women, or do the same principles apply? I guess the roles are different and
Yeah.
stuff. But let's assume like all things are equal. Is rest different for men and women? Like, have you ever encountered that in your practice where you would recommend different things, or is
Yeah. That's a very good question. Thank you for shedding light on this. Actually, Brother Kashif and I were talking as well about the whole concept of how women, like, it's seen more like stigmatized for a woman to engage. Like even when you mention downtime, I feel like men, and not trying to stereotype, but like just the whole notion of, okay, they come home from work. Women typically, especially if you're a wife and you're a mother, you will likely have more responsibilities naturally.
Oh, come on. Let's just be very stereotypical here. Okay? Why not? So the man will come home, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate, right? I'm playing the part here. Hopefully you can play along. So the stereotypical man will come home. They'll be like, hon, I've had a hard day at work, puts up his feet, turns on the TV, either the mindless stock ticker or world news or the BBC or whatever mindless, infotainment there is, and then wait for his dinner, right? Again, the stereotypical man. Stereotypical woman, i.e., stereotypical wife, will be like, "Oh, honey, you've had a hard day at work." Never mind that she too is a career woman, and she's also had a hard day at work, at the office, or in the boardroom, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But stereotypical man doesn't really ask about that, which is another episode that we've had in the past, and a completely different compartmentalized set of issues. So we'll
Yeah.
just leave that one, and you can go back into the library and watch those episodes.
Yeah.
But then stereotypical woman will be like, "Oh my goodness, let me make you that dinner," and then on goes their evening, right? So
Yeah.
to unbox all of that stereotypicalness,
Yeah.
how can we break free from that pattern? What can we do,
Absolutely.
A, as a woman? What can we do, A, as a man, to say, you know what, again, this is all about introspection, right?
Mm-hmm.
But where does that introspection then, when does that light bulb moment go off and be like, yeah, you know what, I've had a hard day at work. My wife, my spouse, my significant other, my partner, my best friend, they too, again, whether it's the woman or the man or the
Mm-hmm.
woman, they too have had a hard day at work. Hey, why don't we just like take 5 minutes out for ourselves and do like go for a walk in a park,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let's just go and get some coffee from, I don't know, Second Cup, Tim's, whatever. I mean, so a coffee date,
Yeah.
right? Like, what are some of the things that stereotypical man and stereotypical woman can do to break free from the routine?
Yeah. Well, I love how you painted that picture. It's awareness. It's awareness and it's empathy. It's having that compassion for your spouse that, whoa, like they had a hard day too. And you're right, it is very stereotypical. I hear it all the time from clients that I work with a lot more women than I do men. And it's very much like this very concept of like, I have so many things to do, my husband's not helping me. So how do you break free from that? I would say having the hard conversations. I think a lot of people are afraid of opening up the can of worms and not really opening up to have these conversations. But it's so important to be like, okay, I'm also working. I'm the woman. I'm also working. You're working. How can we balance out the responsibilities? Can you try to help me out? The man can, help out with some of the responsibilities. And just like you said, awareness. Okay, you know what? Like, we're both exhausted. Can we just order food today and go out with the kids? Or
Right.
like, can we just, you know what? Like, let's just go for a walk and then we'll come back and then we'll take care of our responsibilities. So it's having the hard conversations, I would say.
Yeah, good point. And we've said it before. I've certainly said it before. You look at the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? The template for all of creation. And you look at whether it was Khadija, which I will emphatically, and I go on record and I say all the time, she was the literal first Muslim, right? It could have been Abu Bakr, could have been, anyone else, could have been a man, but no, the first Muslim was a woman. So you look at Khadija, you look at Aisha, you look at all the different wives of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The one constant for the Prophet was, yes, as a man and as the Prophet, as a diplomat, as a businessman, he actually did household chores. He did work around the house. I know, right? Amazing, isn't it, Sister Faizah? Like, wow, oh my gosh, is this amazing or what? Yes, it's a fact. It's cataloged and verified in hundreds of hadith. Okay, maybe not hundreds, but it is verified in hadith. Okay, in various books that he did the household chores. And yes, at the same time, he was a human being. He was a man. He was also romantic as well. I brought this point up many a time that he would actually take the cup, the Happy Strong Family cup, the logo's here for left-handed people, and he would literally find whatever they wore at the time, lipstick or whatever, but he would find the marks of Aisha, and he would literally place his lips on the same spot on the cup. Like, he was a romantic at the end of the day. He was funny. He made jokes with the Sahaba, so he understood that my wife is a hardworking woman. I'm a hardworking man. I too am going to help out in the household. So when many a time we, as the stereotypical men, are be like, oh, I've had a hard day at work. I just got to, put my feet up and watch the TV.
Yeah.
Like, bro, and this is where I look into the camera. Check yourself. Don't do that. It's not part of the hadith. It's not part of the sunnah. If you are, whether you're in the boardroom, you're on the factory floor, you're a career electrician, you're a doctor, whatever you are, as a Muslim man, do the household chores. End of story. Now, I'll get off my soapbox. Whether you take that advice or not, I'll leave it to you. Okay, producer
Thank you
Kashif,
for
some
doing
more
that.
questions. Oh, no.
Jazakallah khair. So the live question just came in. So I think this is because the way we framed it on the posters. So what are the different types of rest other than sleep? Can you summarize?
Excellent question.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different types of rest. So we like to think of it as I'm going to go to sleep. There are also various, we actually talked about them, but I didn't really give them a title. But one of them is sensory rest. So taking a break from your phones, which is probably the most common one for all of us. Really just recognizing that, okay, you know what, like I spent way too much time on my phone today, so I'm going to disengage from that. There's emotional rest, which is expressing what you need. So like being expressive towards, okay, like that could look like a gentle boundary. That could be like, okay, like what is it that I actually what am I feeling, right? Getting in touch with your feelings. Physical is obviously sleep. And then there's creative rest, which is whatever creative means that you can find, whether you like to engage in art, whether it's even just looking at like nature. So like going to a beach, maybe going on a hike, that kind of thing. Social rest, and this is kind of a difference between introverts and extroverts, but if you get energized by being around people, then seeing a good group of friends, right? You want to be energized, not drained. So like people who uplift you. So social rest. And then there's spiritual rest, which is going into things like engaging in zikr, going to pray, and really being mindful of like, okay, like I'm actually in the state of prayer, and like taking a break from thinking about what I have to cook tonight for dinner, but like just being in this moment. So it's a lot about mindfulness. So
Okay.
yeah.
Mindfulness. All right. Producer Kashif, another question, please.
Jazakallah khair. So yeah, one question I have is, so I think for a lot of people to enable that rest, to enable that downtime, they need to, maybe reach out to other people and get help, right? Maybe get help from the parents, the in-laws, the siblings, to watch your kids, or to. But a lot of people struggle with that. Like it's almost like asking for help is like admitting defeat in a way and stuff. So maybe just some thoughts around that, and what you would give advice to people if they're struggling, or if they think that I shouldn't be asking for help, I should be able to do this on my own.
Yeah, the important word there is shouldn't, right? And we talk a lot about this in sessions where you're catching yourself shoulding, and like the shouldn't and couldn't. That's where like self-doubt creeps in. It's like, you know what, like I shouldn't be doing this. I need to figure this out on my own. And being curious about that mindset and exploring who taught me this, like who told me that like I need to figure all of it out. And also deconstructing the fact that our lives look very different from our parents' lives, where most women in our parents' generation were not working. They were at home, they were looking after the kids, that sort of thing. So recognizing that now a lot of women are career oriented, they have full-time jobs, and then they're also taking care of the kids. Like when you think about it from that perspective, of course, like the man needs to help out. Like it has to be an equal responsibility, because the woman's doing way more now in terms of careers. So I think it's catching your thoughts and being like, okay, so I shouldn't be asking for help. Who taught me this? And then, yeah, I know it's complicated with in-laws and complicated with family dynamics, where they also have the expectation that like, what do you mean? Like you just do it, like, right?
So then, Sister Faizah, tell us a little bit more about the concept of self-doubt, right? How can someone bring themselves out of that self-doubt? And if self-doubt is continually creeping in, how can one build stronger confidence around themselves, or whatever the right clinical terminology would be, if you're in continual self-doubt, or if self-doubt is creeping up time and time again, like you said, and as we maintained at the very beginning of the episode, no one should suffer in silence. There are multiple services, registered social workers,
Mhm.
psychotherapists, and the like. So with your clinical experience, tell us how to get out of that mindset, because that too is a mindset. Am I right?
Absolutely. This is a little bit off topic, but not really. But I was thinking about my cat as you mentioned this. I was thinking about my cat because I just adopted a cat, Nemo, 2 weeks ago, and
So you're
I've
making
been.
this relatable.
Yes, I am. I
Okay,
am.
there you go.
I'm the type of person that goes off on
No,
tangents, but
it's
it'll
not
flow
off
back.
topic at all. You're making it relatable, and you're talking about Nemo the cat. Okay, go on, please.
He's a superstar. So he came in and he felt safety. He felt safety within my home, and
Mhm.
a lot of it had to do with my nervous system. A lot of it had to do with the fact that I'm calm. I've been able to. So cats notice that, and I'm relating it back to kids. Kids notice like if you're on edge, or like you're constantly going like from one thing to the next, or do you have a calm nervous system and are you able to regulate? So it's important to embody that, like for your kids, for your cat, right? Because they're looking to you for support. They're looking to you for uh kind of like a figure in terms of, okay, like how am I going to grow up, and how, okay, like I see that my mom is taking rest and that she's recognizing that she needs that. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it about the self-doubt is um to really just recognize that it takes time, is the best way that I can put it, because you're not going to wake up tomorrow and completely change your thought patterns and be like, okay, like I'm going to automatically just fix all of this and I'm going to engage in rest. To unlearn something that you've spent like many years, it's been ingrained in you, your parents have ingrained it in you, society has ingrained in you, the hustle culture, it's not going to be easy to magically be like, whoa, I need rest. So it starts with slowly journaling, uh taking a thought that's negative, I shouldn't rest, and really working with that and reconstructing it, writing it down, writing positive affirmations down on sticky notes. It takes conditioning, it takes time. So it's not an easy feat to overcome, but with slowly recognizing that, you know what, if somebody comes to me, my mother-in-law comes to me, my coworker comes to me, hey, you got to get this done, hey, what about this, just being curious about it, like, okay, is that really priority for me right now? Can I take a moment to take a step back?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, again, it all comes down to understanding oneself, right? Like really,
Yeah.
how can you understand? And it takes a specific form of exercises to do that well. Like you said, journaling,
Yeah.
and kind of understand who you are inside, right?
Exactly.
We really focus on the external,
Mhm.
whether it's like, I'm managing my reputation, or I'm managing work, or I'm managing my friends, or, the spouse, but a lot of that is external, right? When do we, and that's the whole point of this podcast,
Mhm.
when do we give time for ourselves, for the inside, the
Yeah.
inner me?
And if you look even in Islam, like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like he would go to the cave to retreat. That's a form
Excellent
of rest
point.
as well, right?
100%.
Like he
Excellent
would
point.
meditate. So he would be thinking internally and reflecting. So then how can we feel guilty when it's
Excellent point.
ingrained right into our sunnah?
Yeah.
Right?
Excellent point.
Yeah.
Excellent point. Producer Kashif, another question.
Yes, Jazakallah khair. Sorry, there was one on the Instagram stream here, but I can't seem to find it. But I'm going to try recalling it by memory. It had to do with the sort of I think they used the term like mind, body, soul connection, and
Okay.
like
Yeah.
how is this all like interconnected with each other? And
Absolutely.
I think it stemmed from the fact they were talking about like rest is just not physical; it's all connected.
Absolutely.
So if you just
Yeah.
want to talk
No.
about that a bit.
Yeah, no, this is a really good topic in terms of, I'm really passionate about Islamic psychology as well. And some of the concepts in Islamic psychology are really tuning back to your heart. Because in Western psychology, we learn a lot about the mind. And even today, I've talked a lot about the mind, your thought patterns. But it's really important to consider the holistic approach that, like, okay, like let me tune inwards right now and like check in with my heart, like how am I feeling, and really nourishing our it goes back to like the whole spiritual concept of like, let me just engage in worship, let me slow down a bit, and let me ask myself what it is that I need. And I'm doing a bit of a like a short course through Dar ul Shifa, and Dr. Abdullah Rothman is teaching it, and he talks a lot about turning back to nature, because nature is a really good way of connecting with our inner everything we're talking about today. So like turning inwards towards our mind, body, and soul. So it is very holistic. So I appreciate that question very much. It's not just one-sided. So it's not just about like the Western lens of, all right, I never want to kind of promote that like we're getting rid of thoughts. We're just unlearning certain things and we're reconstructing them.
Yeah, perhaps if it's appropriate to say, maybe unlearning some bad habits or habits that we've brought onto ourselves,
Yeah.
which take away from that, like you say, holistic understanding, right?
Absolutely.
Understanding of our inner self, our outer self, bring them together, and then hopefully we'll be better for it.
Yeah. And
Right.
when you start doing that, it's amazing the shift that you see in your energy, the peace that you feel internally and around others. It's just this state that you can't really describe, but once you kind of slowly over time start to value your peace and your energy, you recognize that some people are going to be upset, and that's where the people pleasing comes in. Some people are not going to be happy with me saying no, but I need to learn that that's okay. Like sometimes I need to say no and take a step back and
100%.
say, not right now. I can't commit to this right now.
Right. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Producer Kashif, another question, last question.
Yeah, there's a question on the Instagram stream here.
Mhm.
Also, and before the Q&A, I always like to make a note sometimes that obviously this is a podcast. We can't look at everyone's individual concerns, and so we always advise people to contact yourself or seek help. But someone here is asking that no matter how much they rest, they always feel tired. So I'm not sure if you have any advice for that, or
Yeah, I would say that's something maybe a bit more. I can talk about the sort of survival mode aspect of it, because that's the mental aspect. It could be physical too, so that I would advise maybe seeing a family physician. But from a mental health standpoint, it could be that you're constantly in hypervigilance, so you're constantly in survival mode, and that makes you exhausted. It could be your environment is toxic. You could be around individuals that are constantly making you maybe it's, I don't know, putting you down or constantly making you work. So I would really notice my surroundings and maybe take some time away from the environment that you're in. So I would assess that. I would also just, yeah, I would say it's about being curious about your environment is the first approach. But yeah, a lot of it is the hypervigilance can make you exhausted, and then the physical component of, do I need to seek other supports for this?
Okay. All right. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. Producer Kashif, any last questions?
yeah, just like not a question, but on the Instagram stream here, someone is has a recommendation for a book to read.
Mhm.
Now, I myself haven't read it. I don't know if you have, but I'll throw it out there in case it could help people. But obviously, we can't really vouch for the author or the content. But maybe you are familiar. They're saying it's called The Sacred Rest by Dr. Sandra Dalton Smith, which highlights the 7 types of rest as a must read.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if you've
No,
ever
I
come
haven't
across that
actually,
book,
but yeah,
yeah.
that's great. If we can somehow put that in for our audience, that'd be great. I'm actually interested in looking at it.
Yeah, for
afterwards
sure.
too.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, yeah, that's it. I'll pass it back to you, Brother Mushtaq.
Okay. Sister Faizah, this has been a extremely helpful episode.
Mhm.
Look, we haven't really touched upon the concept of the inner self yet.
Mhm.
So I think this has been extremely helpful.
Yeah.
It's about introspection. It's about, listening to your inner voice,
Yeah.
right? That inner voice where you say, oh, there's something telling me. And how do I listen to that inner voice? Whether I start a journal or whether I just sit down and actually listen to that voice, take a moment out of my day, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's just mindfully washing the dishes or having a sip of tea or swimming,
Mhm.
or maybe looking after your cat named Chiku or Nemo. It's just all about understanding oneself, right?
Exactly.
Introspection at the end of the day. And it's hard. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard
We're not
because
taught this. Yeah.
we're not taught this. It's 2025. We're already halfway through the year,
Yeah.
soon to be 2026, and things are just so mind-numbingly fast.
Hmm.
The expectations are so high, and the economy's in the dumps, right?
Yeah.
So there's all the more pressure just to be in that survival mode.
Yeah.
So if you are going through this, if you know somebody going through this type of scenario where they just need to learn to take a break, help them out. Like we continually say, no one should suffer in silence. Spread the word, share this episode, contact Sister Faizah through the Duha services. The URL will be in the description. Do all of this and really understand. It'll take time. It's not going to happen overnight.
Hmm.
And it's not a magic, solution or by any means, but do that. This has been, again, a very educational session. So thank you, Sister Faizah, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. This is Brother Mushtaq signing off on the episode regarding burnout. So again, watch it, spread the word, share, and make sure that if you even have a sense of that you are going through burnout, or if a friend is going through burnout or a colleague, then at least have them watch this episode. This is Brother Mushtaq signing off on behalf of Happy Strong Families here in the podcast studio within the second floor of Masjid Dar Liman. Bye for now.